TTGIF, thank God it's Friday. One hasn't slackened off a bit on my training, which I guess I should be thankful for. Maybe one day soon we can go to doing her torture training every other day. Riker called me and said that he had sent a photo of the motor yacht, and if I approved it would be built right away. He said it should be available on my wall screen. I brought it up and it looked beautiful. It looked pretty much the same as the photos I had looked at, but the paint scheme matched the Wayward Sons exactly, and you could see the difference in the gear in the pilot/wheelhouse in the newer power plants. I told him I definitely approved and to go ahead with the build. He said it would be done and placed at the marina for when we arrived. He also said that first we're checking out every race they came upon for items that may be of interest to myself or our future Arcadians. Sam pops in, so I tell her of my talk with Riker and ask her to have the photo of the motor yacht put on the website ASAP. She tells me we now have 242,962 people approved and verified going to Arcadia, made up of the following groups: 123,373 in families, 19,500 orphans, 25 grandparents, 44,162 single men, 41,499 single women, and 3,724 men and women, with 8,379 concubines between them. That leaves us with only 12,038 seats still to fill. I told Sam if we went over before we left, we could always transport people in my ship as well as the BCs. I also said we'd be going as soon as everything we had going on was completed, even if we hadn't filled every seat, as 240,000 plus people were enough to ensure our race's viability. Delilah showed up and came over for a kiss before going to see Chef for breakfast. Between bites, she let me know she should be getting some lists from several countries today regarding which landfills we could empty and in which order they'd like us to empty them. Delilah changes the subject by asking me how much of this bacon stuff we will have on Arcadia. I tell her I have no idea. She tells me she knows how much. Not enough! Ha ha ha! She says I should get as much as I can because bacon would be a huge hit on Elvin, all the while chowing down on hers. I told the ladies I had a few things to do today and that I would see them later. I specifically told Sam that Security Team #1 would be with me, so no transporting to wherever I might be. One, can you show yourself, please? I asked, and she immediately appears. What can I do for you, sire? Your team is on duty today, and I want to take the Wayward Son for a trip to a little store I know in Montreal, Quebec, and buy some things for Sam, Delilah, 2, and 2 Yindors 3. I don't want them to know what I bought until I give them the items. I will be seriously pissed off if someone tells them anything. I will tell you that the place is a little-known private jewelry store that makes custom jewelry. I need to know that you and your team will keep the secret even from the other first. Of course we will, sire. My duty and the duty of every member of your security teams is to you first, then to each of your ladies, and then to each other. Please, have no doubt that we won't talk about something you don't want talked about, unless there may be harm done to you if we don't. Excellent. Let's get our butts in gear then and go on a little trip. One transports me to the shuttle and we were off. This little jewelry store is known mostly by word of mouth and makes exquisite pieces. Wow, I have to say this is the fastest trip I ever made to Montreal as we arrived. We transport down to the area just outside the store, then enter, and I say in my best Francophone accent, Jocelyn, good morning. How is everything in beautiful Montreal this fine morning? Jocelyn whipped her head around to look at me, then yelled, Eves, you better get out here. There is some wretched Englishman in here that looks lost. She made her way over and grabbed my head, pulling me down for a kiss on each cheek. Her husband Eve comes out of the back, looking around as if expecting trouble, then smiles when seeing me and came over to give me a man hug and handshake. Yes, you are right, my Jocelyn. He does look a little lost. No visit for what? 5 years? It is good to see you again, DD, in person, that is. We see you and your girlfriends on the TV sometimes, though. Where are your lovely ladies anyways? Eves asked, looking around the room for them. They are not with me today, Eves, as I came to talk to you and Jocelyn about getting something made for them. But first, tell me why you haven't taken the enhanced cap test. Do you plan on staying here on Earth? DD, this is our home. We are old and want to stay here. We figure the soldiers will at least slow the swarm advance if they don't stop them completely, so that by the time the swarm do arrive, we will have already passed on. This is our decision, so please respect that. Okay, I can and will respect your decision. However, I will be asking again before we close everything down here on Earth for good. Okay? They both nod their heads okay. I then explain to them that I am looking for 4 identical, 5-stone, round-cut diamond engagements rings, PT 950 platinum, 95% pure. For the center stone, I want a 3-carat diamond with 2 1-carat diamonds on each side of it. The center diamond will sit slightly higher than the side diamonds, and each diamond will be the very best round-cut diamond they can get. I will also want to get 5 platinum wedding bands. Again, PT 950, 4 women's bands, and 1 men's band, with 5 hands in some sort of pattern etched into each band. Bad part of this is I need them within 2 weeks if possible. Can you do all of them in that short a time frame? I think I have what you are looking for as far as the platinum bands and rings themselves are concerned, so I might only need to mount the diamonds. Let me call my neighbor about the diamonds. They just got a shipment in the other day. The diamonds will be expensive though, DD. Very expensive. I hear what you are saying. Eves and I have more than enough for what I am buying. I will pay half up front or all if that is required. Let us see what my friend has in diamonds first. Eves calls his friend, and I can hear Eves tell him to bring over his very best 3-carat and 1-carat round-cut diamonds, as he has a customer in the store that he might need them for, if they are good enough. He tells the guy the customer is his personal friend and that Eves will be checking the diamonds, and they better be the very best. My friend will be over in less than 10 minutes. His store is only a couple stores away from here. In the meantime, can I get you something to drink? Water? Coffee? A coffee is fine, Eves, thank you. We were so sad to hear about the deaths of your mother and father, Dee. We never met them, but we knew just from meeting you that they were good people. I hope the ones responsible paid dearly for what they did. They paid with their lives, Jocelyn. They were all killed either during the mess in the restaurant or afterwards by the Confederacy. Eve brings me my coffee just as the door chimed, and an older, short, balding man comes in yelling to Eves that he is here. Eves gives me my coffee, greets the man that just arrived, and introduces us to each other. Eves then leads us into a back room and locks the door from the inside. Eves spread a black cloth on the table, then brings out 2 trays of wedding rings and bands that he said were all PT 950 platinum. I take a look at the bands first and find 5 right away. I liked that the top side of the bands are flat and not rounded like most are, and that they should be wide enough for the hands to be etched in. I pointed them out to Eves and asked if the same style was good for the engagement rings, or should the engagement rings have the round top side as far as mounting the diamonds was concerned. I have rings that are an exact match to these bands, and the flat top side is no problem to mount the diamonds on. He puts 4 rings out on the black cloth and then moves the 5 bands nearer to them. I look them over and tell him that I like them and will take them. Eves now asks Michel to show us the diamonds. Michel pulls 2 cloth bags from the inside of his overcoat and, opening one, pours the diamonds into his hand before putting them on the black cloth. He does the same with the other bag and then points to each area of diamonds, telling us which are 3-carat and which are 1-carat. I tell Michel that Eve will check them out for me, as I wouldn't be able to tell one from another. Eves gets a loop and a small digital scale and starts checking out each diamond. Michel and I watch him for a few minutes as Eve will weigh a diamond, look it over using the loop, then move it to another spot on the cloth. The first 2 diamonds he checked went to different spots on the cloth. I moved off to the side to let Eve concentrate on what he was doing, and Michel came with me. We talked quietly about Arcadia and my girls after Michel said he knew who I was. I described the design I had talked to Eves about, admitting I was buying the rings for the girls and that I'd be marrying them once we were on Arcadia. If they agree to, of course. Michel said it sounded like the rings would be very nice indeed, and he didn't think I had to worry about them saying no. But how would I be able to marry all 4 of them, as that was illegal? I told him it might be illegal here on Earth, but it wasn't on Arcadia, or in the Confederacy either for that matter. Eves said he was done and called us back over at the table. I saw one group with 6 of the larger diamonds, 2 other groups with the remaining larger diamonds, and 2 almost equal groups of the smaller diamonds. Yves pointed out each group that he thought had the best quality diamonds. I tell Yves to pick the ones he thinks are best, and he takes 4 from the group of 6 and places them nearer to one group of the smaller diamonds. Yves then hands the 4 larger diamonds to Michel, who weighs them on the digital scale. Michel holds his hand out to Yves, who grins and outs a piece of paper in Michel's hand, telling me he knows I wrote down the serial numbers for all the diamonds I was going to choose. The diamonds are all certified and have a serial number lasered into them, so he can easily give us a total price after checking the serial numbers. Michel pulls a small calculator and paper from his pocket and enters numbers into the calculator after each diamond he looks at. After looking at the last diamond, he punches a few more buttons, looks at the screen, nodding his head, and turns the screen to Yves. Yves has a shocked look on his face when he looks at the screen as Michel says, "This is the total I will charge Dedeus for all the diamonds." I thought it looked like Yves was getting mad, so I said, "Yves, calm down. Is it higher than what you thought it would be?" "No, my friend, it is not higher. The price is too good, and I think my other friend here is not making anything on this deal," Yves replied while looking at Michel. Michel points his index finger in the air, saying, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to present the ruler of Arcadia's fiancé-to-be with the absolute best I have to offer. I consider it an honor and will not lose the honor over a few dollars." I grabbed the calculator from Michel and had a look for myself. I knew what a 1-carat ring was priced at in a store, so I figured if I multiplied by 20, 28 carats total in diamonds minus the gold for the rings, I should be somewhere in the ballpark. The price Michel had on the calculator was in the very low end of the ballpark, and I knew these diamonds were of a significantly higher quality. I looked at Michel. "My new friend Michel, I think my old friend Yves is right, and I cannot accept this price from you." I looked at the calculator again and punched in X 1.15, nodded my head as this brought the price into the upper half of the ballpark. I turned the screen to Michel. "However, I will pay you this price if you agree." Yves looked at the number on the screen and smiled at me, nodding his head. Michel stared at me for a bit, then gave a single nod of his head and told me I drive a hard bargain. I replied that I was happy with the price, and if he was happy too, then all was good. Yves and Michel packed up their things, and we went out to the main area of the store. I asked Michel how he wanted to be paid, and he said to pay Yves when I paid for the rings. A handshake, man hug, pat on the back, and Michel was out the door. Yves told Joseline what I had chosen, and she showed Yves some drawings she had done of hands for the wedding band etchings I had mentioned. They both showed them to me, and I chose the one like the best. One slightly larger hand positioned so the fingers pointed away from the ring wearer's body, and having one smaller hand at each of the 45, 135, 225, and 315-degree points around the larger hand. Each smaller hand have the fingertips slightly spread and touching the top of the larger hand, with the thumb and index fingers of each pair of 2 hands touching each other, and the pinky finger of each pair of smaller hands touching the pinky finger of the other hand that was next to them. "Okay, Yves, give me a total for the 4 engagement rings and 5 wedding bands with the engraving. And don't try pulling a Michel on me either." Joseline gave me a questioning look, so I told her about Michel giving me a price that was too low and how Yves got mad about it. So he better not try the same thing. Yves turned the calculator screen to me, and I just looked at him with a raised eyebrow. He humphed, turned the calculator back to himself, punched a few buttons, and then turned it back to me, saying he wouldn't take any more than that. Joseline looked and nodded, so I did too. I said I would pay half now, and the rest when I picked them up, and I didn't want to hear any arguing from either of them. We rang it up, and I called my bank with my codes to authorize the rather large purchase. No muss, no fuss, and payment was quickly approved. Yves said they would start on the engraving today and the setting of the stones tomorrow. He figured they would be ready in 8-10 days, and he would call me as soon as they were done. I thanked them both for everything and let them know I would be back in person to pick them up. We say our goodbyes and one to transport us to the shuttle, and we headed back home to the J&J. Sam greets me on my return saying, "Oh, good, you're finally back. You were gone all day. Where'd you go? What did you do?" And just letting you know that Marcia, Dean, Karen, Louise, and Lois are coming for dinner in a couple hours. Louise and Lois are the two ladies Marcia mentioned when you were talking to her about needing some people. They took the enhanced test before meeting with Marcia and shouldn't have any problems doing what you are looking for them to do. That's good news, Sam. Hopefully there will be enough work to keep them busy for some time to come. And to answer your other questions, I went to Montreal and talked to an old friend and his wife about coming to Arcadia. They are older and declined, wanting to stay in their home and in the neighborhood they have known all their lives. For the moment anyways. I told them I'd be trying again. I went and visited with Delilah, 2-2 and 2-3, until it was time to shower and get ready for our guests. No hanky-panky ha-ha-ha. Sam went down and brought our guests back, and after showing them a small part of the J&J, we went to the observation lounge for a view of Earth and a pre-dinner drink, or in my case, a coffee. Louise and Lois said that Marcia had explained what I was looking for, and they thought they could handle the jobs if they were to be offered them. They would like to see the list of things that we were short of so they could prioritize what they looked for. Lois did ask me if there was anything I needed more of immediately, which prompted Delilah to yell, "Bacon! More bacon! As much bacon as you can get!" This got a good chuckle from those in the know and a confused look from those that weren't until we explained the reason for Delilah's bacon passion. "Do you want just bacon, or would getting the whole hog be okay?" Louise asked. "The whole hog would be okay, I guess. Why do you ask?" I replied. "Well, Dee, there are literally millions of feral hogs roaming around ruining people's properties. A lot of the properties are used for hunting deer, elk, etc., and the hogs screw up the fields for the herds and can even chase them away. If I was working for you, I'd feel the owners out about buying their properties, or, better yet, helping them out by taking most of the wild hogs. The owners are limited in regards to how many they can kill each year, but they are not limited as to how many they can sell. That is a great idea, Louise. Pay the landowner, say, $100 per hog to take them off his hands. This is less than what we'd normally pay for a hog, which is good for Arcadia and is easy money in the landowner's pocket. You could also see if they would let us take some of their other wildlife as well. I say take, not kill, and take. I'd love to see animals like deer and elk in the wilds on Arcadia. You can also look into getting some of the hogs butchered and packaged by small butcher shops here on Earth, while most will be done on Arcadia, giving immediate work to butchers there. And if you come to work for me, don't either one of you think you need to limit yourselves to looking only in this country or just in North America. Look worldwide, please. Now, if anyone else is as hungry as I am, shall we go eat?" Sam explained to Louise and Lois how the replicators worked and watched as they chose their favorite meals from their favorite restaurants. Both ladies were very surprised that the meal tasted as good as what they've had at the actual restaurant. We stayed in the dining room for an after-dinner coffee, and I told both ladies the jobs were theirs if they wanted them, and they could start as soon as they were available. I did tell them about our pending sale to XYZ and asked them to give XYZ ample notice if they decided to accept my offer. They both knew of the pending sale and also knew they were being passed over yet again for promotion to XYZ positions in a newly acquired company. They both accepted my job offer and assured me they would give 2 weeks' notice, though they thought XYZ would let them go immediately, as that seemed to be their modus operandi when others had left the company. Sam then explained about the ULT and medical checkup they would get whenever they had time to get it done. They asked if these were the same things Marcia had gone through and were assured they were, except they wouldn't get any treatments unless something was discovered during the checkup and they approved said treatment. They both elected to get the medical done tonight if they could get a lift home afterwards. They said they'd put in their notice tomorrow, even though it was Saturday, as HR and many other departments worked on Saturday at XYZ. Marcia and Karen went with Sam and the girls when they took Louise and Lois to the med bay, leaving Dean and myself in the dining room. I asked for a 355 milliliters French vanilla from Chef and could see Dean nodding his head, indicating he wanted one too. I told Dean about my trip to Montreal for the rings and that I was going to marry all 4 of my girls on Arcadia, either soon after our arrival there or prior to our departing Earth. I told him the actual ceremony would take place on Arcadia and asked him if he would be my witness. He said he would be honored to stand by me when I married. I told him he could tell Marcia, but she couldn't say anything to anyone until after I gave the girls the rings, which probably wouldn't be for another 8 days or so. Louise and Lois both had clean bills of health, and Sam transported the 5 of them down to their homes. Each of the girls had to show me how much they missed me, leaving me a very tired but happy camper. Yay, Saturday! Another week gone by. I was thinking that I'm getting better at staying focused when training with one. As lately I've noticed when the girls enter the gym and can say hello without taking tennis balls to the noggin. Unfortunately, that focus ended this morning when they came in and started bending over doing stretches, and I saw they were sans panties. Yes, I'll say I was stunned. At least I was until the third tennis ball bounced off me. I looked sheepishly over at one who couldn't stop herself from laughing. Then I heard the rest of the security girls along with my girls laughing. Yes, they had all planned this moment to show me I wasn't quite immune to their charms yet. We spent the next several days looking at and doing our best to ensure something was being overlooked. L and L, my new nickname for Louise and Lois, were let go on Monday when they went into XYZ. They were told they could take vacation time in lieu of 2 weeks' notice if they wanted to. They wanted to and used the time to move out here. I put them up in my apartment for the time being, and they immediately looked at some office space in the orphanage buildings and set up shop there. Marcia messaged me that governors from 2 states were balking at our taking that much of their wildlife and other animals in one shot. They felt we should take half now and the rest over 5 years. We let it be known that they had been over-reporting the numbers of wildlife to the federal government so they would get more money to support them. In the end, we took what was agreed upon, though it did set the completion of the trade agreement back several days. Eves calls at noon on Friday, telling me that the rings were done and I could come get them anytime. I asked him if now was too soon and had one transport me there to pick them up. Eves asked me how the heck I got there so quickly, as he calls Michelle and is told he'll arrive in a few minutes. I tell Eves we came via First Transport, and we both had a good laugh at the name after I explained to Eves what First Transport was. Eves brought out the ladies' rings in a square, velvet-lined display box with the 4 engagement rings in a row along the upper part of the box, and with a wedding band directly below each engagement ring. And oh wow, they looked fantastic! I looked over each ring and wedding band and was very impressed. My wedding band was in a small velvet-lined box of its own. I thanked Eve, Jocelyn, and Michelle profusely, hugging them and telling them that I loved them and knew the girls would too. Eves took pictures of the rings in the display box and then placed both the engagement rings and the wedding bands in matching individual boxes for me. He said he would send me a copy of the photos he took of the rings in the display box if I wanted one. I told him I did. After paying what remained to be paid and thanking each of them again, one zapped us back to the J&J, and it looked like I wasn't missed. I immediately had the rings and bands scanned, encrypted, and added to my personal folder in the replicator database, just in case the info was ever needed. I did receive a beautiful photo of all the rings in the display box from Eve a little while later that went into the folder as well. Later that evening, the 4 of us were sitting around chatting, and I did my best to offhandedly say that I wondered how many multiple marriages there would be on Arcadia and when the first one would take place. Dalila asked what I meant, and I explained how being married to more than one person wasn't allowed on Earth, but it was allowed on Arcadia. Said that there were many groups of people going to Arcadia together, and that many singles were taking more than one other person, even though that they were called concubines, and that I wondered how many of these groups would actually decide to marry. Dalila then said that if they were already together, why would they get married? I told her that for some people it was a way of making a stronger commitment to the other. Or in our case, for example, it would be making a stronger commitment to each other, not just one other person. But we already feel that from you, DD, and we know that you feel it from us, 3 said. Yes, I do feel it from all of you, and I am glad you feel it from me too, I said, putting the 4 boxes containing the rings on the table, one in from of each of them. In my case, it is also a way for me to show everyone on Earth and the galaxies at large my love and commitment to each of you. When I look to the future, I don't see a future where each of you isn't in it with me. I pulled back the lid of each box, showing the beautiful ring inside. I want each of you to be with me always, and I'm asking each of you if you will marry me and be my wife. and each other's wife too. All four gasp on seeing the rings, their hands going to their mouths. "Oh, Dee, they are absolutely gorgeous," all four exclaim. "But my love, I am already yours. You claimed me after my father attacked you." "You don't have to marry me," Delilah states. "I may have claimed you as you say I have and don't need to marry you, but I want to marry you," I say, as I take the ring out of the box and place it on her finger. In turn, I take a ring out of its box and place it on each girl's finger as I tell each of them that I want to marry them. Looking at them, I see four faces with tears in their eyes, staring at the rings. Delilah looks from her ring to me and starts nodding her head while letting out a little squeak that sounded like, "Yes." "Excuse me, but we couldn't hear that," a voice says, "and it might be a good thing if everyone answers." Each of the girls screams, "Yes, yes, yes," while launching themselves at me, pushing me onto the floor in a puppy pile and covering me with kisses. I hear lots of "Way to go, sire," and look around to see everyone from the security team standing around looking at us. One has a smile on her face and gives me a thumbs up while saying, "Okay, girls, get off him and show us the rings." They pile off me as quickly as they piled on, and then they are standing there, as it appears women the galaxies over know how to, with their left arms out in front of them, fingers slightly spread and pointed downwards, showing off their engagement rings. I hear someone say, "Where and when is the wedding, sire?" And I respond, "We can't get married on Earth, but we can on Arcadia, so that's the where. And as far as the when, well, we have yet to discuss that. We will let everyone know when the date is decided on, as everyone is invited." Some of the security girls come and kiss me on the cheek in congratulations, and some from Team 1 say that they did a real good job on the rings in Montreal. Sam hears that and asks, "Are these what you went to Montreal for, Dee? You didn't talk to old friends about coming to Arcadia?" "Yes, I went to Montreal to get these rings made. The owner of the jewelry store and his wife are friends of mine. And yes, what I told you about asking them to come to Arcadia is true. And yes, I am going to ask them again in the future. Love, we have some people to call and tell, and the Web First want to put the proposal video on the site. Is that okay with you?" "Yes, Sam, that's fine with me. Make your calls and we'll talk more after." I can hear the girls calling and talking to Sarah and Gran, then Marcia and Karen, and then even L and L. I grab a Dee coffee and make my own calls to Dean and Mark, letting them know. I also speak with Mark about his coming to Arcadia, and he still insists on staying on Earth. The girls are done with their calls, and we cuddle up and talk about when we should have the wedding. I tell them I'd prefer to have the ceremony as soon as time allows, as who knows when we might have time in the future. They agree to that idea, and I turn to Delilah. "What about you, love? You are the only one with family and friends far away. We can get married after we meet up with your mom, stepmom, and stepsister, if that is what you want." "My loves, the Queen has never treated me like a daughter, and has hardly ever acknowledged my existence either. So having her at my wedding is not important to me. I'd like to have my stepmom and stepsister there, but I too would like for us to marry as soon as possible. And I know they will understand if we did so." We talked about having a simple ceremony versus an elaborate affair, and we each wanted a simple ceremony where we exchanged a few words to each other, and then the officials said we were married. "Okay then, if everyone agrees, we'll marry as soon as we can." All four are smiling and nod their heads. "We know it has to take place on Arcadia, so who do we invite?" I'm thinking we ask Riker as our friend and as second of the first if he will officiate. "Sire to Riker, come in, Riker." "Yes, sire, Riker here. I must say that is a strange way to contact me. And congratulations to all of you. All the first heard your proposal. But excuse me, you called sire, how can I help you?" We thanked Riker for his comments, and I asked him if, as our friend, as well as second of the first, if he would officiate at our wedding ceremony and after we say our words to each other, declare us to be married. "Yes, sire. I would be honored to officiate at your wedding. I believe this will be the greatest honor in all my very long life." "Excellent, Riker, we thank you. We haven't decided on a date yet, but we imagine it will be sooner rather than later. I will let you know as soon as we decide. Now then, who do we invite? Dean has agreed to be my witness, so you four will need to ask someone. Of course, all the first that want to attend are invited, as are Marcia and Karen, Sarah, Gran, and Mark. Can you think of anyone else? The girls agreed they wanted to ask Sarah to be their witness and that they couldn't think of anyone else they'd invite. The others at the orphanage aren't around very often, and they'd only met them a couple times, and they've only met Elle and Elle once. Of course, they said they'd have to take Sarah shopping for a dress. Okay, that all seemed to be settled, so now we just had to come up with a date. I guess getting engaged does something to a girl, as each of them was especially amorous tonight, not only to me, but with each other also. Sleep did not come for any of us for some time. I'm out of bed again after only a few hours of sleep. I almost always get up at the same time now, no matter how little I've slept. I get a coffee, a couple strawberry-filled croissants, and sit down as one. One pops in to tell me no training this morning. Hallelujah, my prayers have been answered. I decide to go for the gusto and order a huge breakfast. I need to replenish after last night. The commander has nothing to report other than congratulations from all the crew in my PG. I thank him and ask him to pass my thanks to the crew. I tell him to ensure that we and BCs 1 and 2 are ready to go to Arcadia at a moment's notice. He assures everyone we will be ready. I contact Riker and he tells me that the space station is now finished, is fully manned by Fürst, and is ready for use. I thank him for that news and say that for now it will be for our use only until our new citizens are settled in, and it's not like we're expecting or inviting company right now. I ask him to send me a few photos of its exterior and interior so that the web first can publish them on the Arcadia website. I call Dean and Marcia and let them know what we had decided on last night, and for Marcia to let me know when the trade agreement has almost been completed, as we may dash to Arcadia, get married, and dash right back to pick up all our future citizens going to Arcadia. They assure me that they will be ready at a moment's notice. I do warn Dean that I would probably be in my best bib and tucker or my Sunday best. He said his suit would be ready. Elle and Elle call, and they have a person down in Texas that would like us to take approximately 13,000 feral hogs off his properties. Elle and Elle say they can immediately give 15 local area butchers 5 hogs each, but that there would still be a lot of pork for us to take at one time. They want to know if we have that kind of capacity. I check with Sam about getting stasis holds set up in the Star Cruiser as well as the ships in my PG, and would doing that give us the capacity to take roughly 13,000 hogs. Sam tells me we could set up stasis holds as needed, and doing so on even one ship so would give us more than enough capacity. We could take several times that with no difficulty if we used each ship. I asked Sam to task a first with being a liaison to Elle and Elle. They would start with a stasis hold on BC-1 and then contact Elle and Elle about transporting the hogs to the stasis hold. If more stasis holds were needed, they were to make them and fill them as required. I said to leave the Star Cruiser to last if we needed more, as the BCs could zip to Arcadia, leave whatever was in the holds there and zip back. I asked Sam to contact Riker and make sure there was enough stasis capacity there, as I didn't want the hogs wandering around free on Arcadia. They were all going to be butchered ASAP by our new Arcadian butchers and by android butchers. I tell her she can tell Delilah I got her a whole lot more bacon. Ha ha ha. Sam informed me that Riker would make sure there was more than enough stasis capacity on the space station for now, and that she would contact Elle and Elle to let them know to go ahead, and that a first would be liaising with them to help out and transport anything they required. I asked Sam to have them look at doing the same for cattle and other livestock as well. Though if they bought an actual ranch, farm, orchard, etc., to only send half of any harvest, half the female calves and all of the male calves to Arcadia. The other half of the harvest would be sold here on Earth, and the female calves that remained here would be used for breeding, and people would have to make do with less veal. Also see what they thought of the possibility of taking cuttings from any plants, trees, etc. in orchards. We buy and take less actual plants and trees. Or would it be simpler to just take half of whatever is in the orchard? Sam said she would get her done. I looked over at her and she said, "Hey, we watched a funny show on TV." Reaction to news of our engagement is overwhelmingly positive, with only a few comments about my marrying aliens. A look showed the comments were made by people not coming to Arcadia, so whatever. Comments about my boat were mostly positive, with some wondering how I could afford it. Though those kinds of comments stopped when someone posted that I am the ruler of Arcadia and that I was rich before that happened. And they heard I sold my business for almost $1 billion. A busy morning, and it looks like I almost missed lunch. Can't have that happen, so I made my way back to the suite and see Delilah sitting at the table. I go to Chef and get a plate of spaghetti and meatballs with grated Parmesan cheese, then take a seat at the table after giving Delilah a quick kiss. I hear you got me more bacon, Dee, thank you. And what is that you are eating? The bacon isn't just for you, sweetheart, and that's what us he-men do. Bring home the bacon, I say to Delilah while flexing my upper body and grinning at her. And this is called spaghetti and meatballs with grated Parmesan cheese. And no, you can't try mine because you will eat it all. Okay, if you want to try a little, go ahead. But if you try for a second bite, I'll bite back, though you might like that. Delilah tries a little and likes it, saying she will try a plate later so I can keep my teeth to myself. For now. She goes on to tell me she has a schedule set up with several countries for recycling their landfills that should take the next 5 years unless we put more recyclers on the job. I say that is good news and that I have no problem with it taking that long. Diane from legal calls and tells me the deal is now a done deal, and what did I want to do with the money? I tell her to put it into my Planet Arcadia account for now, and that I would think about exchanging it for whatever else later. She congratulates me on the engagements and thanks me for the big purchase at Cherry's the other day. Sam pops in saying that things are moving along quickly, but with next to no problem so far. She says that L&L actually have 13,543 hogs to transport to BC1, with the smallest weighing in at 150 kgs. Damn, that's a lot of pork. They are also working on a similar deal with a rancher for female calves and bull calves, and the outright purchase of 8 nut plantations or farms in 3 different countries. The owners are getting up there in years, and since their kids are all gone, they want to sell. If L&L buy the places, I told them to let the owners continue to live in their house until they pass on if they want to, and androids will be used to take care of everything, including harvesting the nuts. While the 8 places don't produce all the different kinds of nuts available, they do produce all of the more well-known nuts. I told her that was excellent news, all of it, but especially the news about the nuts, as there are none on Arcadia other than what little we got in the trade agreement and will be taking with us. I told her to make sure the androids were given the knowledge to take cuttings of the plants and turn them into producing plants. We need to do this to build our nut supply on Arcadia. I go to my closet and have a look at what is called my Guardian formal attire uniform, which means it is what I'd wear instead of a tux or other kind of hoity-toity suit. This was my hoity-toity suit, ha ha ha. It looks okay, but doesn't seem to be quite right to me. I browse around the internet looking at different formal uniforms and come across the Canadian Provost Corps 1946 to 1968 mess dress. Now that looks pretty snazzy, but I think to myself, let's see if I can Frankenstein something that looks better and in Guardian Prime colors. After some time, I had cobbled together something I thought would look great if it could be put together in reality. I came up with a short, waist-length black jacket, crimson vest combo with a stand collar held together with small at the front, rank on the collar, and upside-down arch pattern crimson cuffs. The crimson vest was more like a collarless shirt that was attached to the inside of the jacket and closes in the middle to hold the jacket together. The jacket itself never actually comes together in the middle, having a 1/2 inch spacing at the collar and tapering to an 8-inch spacing at the waistline, sort of like an upside-down V. The bottom half of the uniform consists of black pleated trousers, no cuffs, a black leather belt with a 2.5 long crimson band 2 inches to each side of the Platinum Guardian's buckle, and a pair of always shiny, super comfortable slip-on pointed toe, black patent leather tuxedo loafers with leather instep strap attached to Platinum GP buckles on the sides. And no hat, no way, I was looking it over after I had finished what little I could do when the girls come by and see it immediately saying, "Whew, that looks nice. That for you, Dee. What is it for?" I told them I was looking for something to get married in as Guardian Prime as well as Dee as Sanderson, and that the current uniform choice didn't look right to me, so I put this together, but didn't know if it could actually be made. Sam said, well, let's find out, and sent it to the replicator with instructions to fit it for my body. Well, what came out was okay, but looked like it was Frankenstein together, just like my creation did. We all have a good laugh when we see it, and Sam said she would get it fixed right away as one of the web design first pops in. She had a good laugh too, until I told her I put it together from different photos I found on the internet using an old computer program called Paint. She told me, and the others, that it looked very good then, considering how it was made. She did a few things to it on the screen, and we could see the look quickly changing, so it looked more like real clothing. After a few more minutes, she said, "Let's try this," and sent it to the replicator. Well, let me tell you, what came out of the replicator looked exactly how I pictured my creation to be in my mind. The girls loved it and told me I had to try it on for them now. So of course I said, "Yes, dears." Ha, 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 ha. I have to admit it looked and felt great. Very comfortable. Not too tight even though it was very close to form-fitting, and even the shoes felt comfortable when I first tried them on. I told the girls that I thought it looked pretty sharp. Sam said it needed a hat or a crown, and everyone laughed when I told her to shush her mouth about any crown or hat. Of course, pictures had to be taken. Sam said they were needed not only for our website, but also for all Guardian-owned or operated buildings, such as the orphanage here on Earth in the orphanage, Guardian Hall, and the Hall of Justice in Guardian City. They would also be used in any future embassies and consulates we open. I told Sam that this would be the new Guardian Formal Attire Uniform, GFAU, for all Guardian officers, and that I might look at changing the Guardian Dress Uniform, GDU, and Guardian Work Uniform, GWU, for both enlisted and officers, though I did like the GDU I had worn before. I asked her to have any records that needed to be updated. She said it would be taken care of. I then asked the girls if they knew what they wanted to wear on our wedding day. Well, that was the wrong thing to ask, as it was like a volcano blew its top. They were all talking at once, and I couldn't understand a single word any of them were saying. I didn't think they did either until the storm stopped as quickly as it started, and the wall screens switched to bridal gowns. I asked if they needed my help, and that got them squawking again, letting me know I could not see their dresses until they appeared at our wedding. I did my best not to let my smile show that I wouldn't have to spend however much time it would take looking at wedding dresses as I give them all a kiss and tell them I am done for them. Sunday, woohoo, Sunday, up and at 'em. I grab a coffee from Chef, and he asked me if he can talk to me about something. I tell him he sure can. "Sire, I have come up with the subject matter for a 10-month AI course that I would like your approval to teach to our new citizen students at Arcadia University. I have limited the theory for the course to be taught, as we had previously discussed, to one generation above the best Confederacy AIs, which currently are Tull AIs. Whenever you have the time, I would ask that you look over the subject matter and course as I have prepared it, and let me know if you approve or of any changes you want." "Well, Chef, I can most certainly do that. But let me ask you this. Are you completely 100% happy with the entire course as you have prepared it? Or is there anything else you want to include in it?" "Sire, I can honestly tell you that I am 100% happy with the course I have come up with. I will admit that I'd love to teach more advanced theory, but I agree with you that now is not the time for that. And given the very limited AI knowledge humans have, there may well be different advances made in the theory because of their way of thinking." "Excellent, Chef. Then since I know SFA, sweet fuck all, about AI theory and trust that you do, I will approve your course as it is now, and the web first will list it on the web page. Once Arcadia University is open for the school year, you are free to teach your AI course." Chef excitedly starts thanking me over and over, then stops abruptly and asks, "Excuse me, sire, but what does SFA mean? You said that you knew SFA about AI theory. Is that theory I am unaware of?" I laugh out loud as I reply, "Yes, Chef. I think you are completely unaware of that theory. SFA is an acronym for sweet fuck all, meaning I know nothing about AI theory." Ha 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 ha. Chef laughs with me while saying, "SFA, sweet fuck all. I know nothing. Okay, I get it. That is good, Chef. Now, can I get another DD coffee and some food, please? How about we create a custom order we'll call the Super Omelet, make it a 3-egg omelet with chopped cooked bacon pieces, Italian spicy hot sausage chunks, pepper jack mozzarella and medium cheddar cheeses, chopped green and red peppers, and chopped grilled onions. On the side, give me 6 slices of honey and maple bacon and 500 grams of chopped potato hash browns. Your coffee is ready, sire, and your meal will be in 4 minutes 15 seconds. And thank you again for approving my course. Excellent, chef, and you are welcome. Good morning, Dee, chef, and what may I ask is chef welcome for this morning? Sam asks, arriving by my side and giving me a quick kiss as I grab my coffee. Sire approved my AI course, Sam. He didn't change anything, as he said he knew SFA about AI theory and trusted that I do. I get to teach AI theory to our new citizens at Arcadia University. Chef excitedly answers before I could get a word out. Well, of course he would, chef. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know a lot about AI, so he would trust you to teach to whatever level you had already talked about. And what is SFA? Chef and I both laugh as he tells her what SFA means. I hear the replicator ding telling me my breakfast was ready, so I grab it as Sam tells Chef we will all miss him here on the J&J once he starts teaching. What do you mean, Sam? Why would you miss me? Why wouldn't I be here on the J&J? Chef asked. You won't be able to be here if you are teaching at the university, chef. Even us first can't be in 2 places at the same time. I never thought of that. What can I do? I want to teach, but I don't want to not be able to do my duty to you, Sire Monk. Chef said, sounding heartbroken. Chef, you know I want you to be happy, and I think you would be happier teaching AI theory than you would be staying here. And you would always be welcome here whenever you weren't teaching. As far as your duty to me is concerned, your duty can be done by creating an awesome AI for our replicator here, just like you did when creating Casa for our home. As a matter of fact, I want it to be your duty to create an AI that you will be proud to have served on Arcadia ships. You are a citizen of Arcadia, and it is my duty to do my best to give you the opportunity to live a happy life. Thank you, sire. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Casa is the best AI I have created to date, and I would be proud to make copies for use on Arcadia ships and to be your replicator AI. I will set up the AI for your replicator now, and we can try it until I start teaching. That sounds good to me, chef. Let me know when you have completed it, and we will try it out. Now I am going to eat this wonderful breakfast you made. That does look and smell delicious, love, Delilah says as she walks over giving me a good morning kiss. She then takes the forkful I was just about to eat, then says, Oh, that is good. I think I'll try one. What is it called? We hear a new voice state, Good morning. I am the new AI for this replicator. In answer to your question, that is a newly created dish called the Super Omelet. The voice then listed all the ingredients that make up the dish. Whoa, chef, that was fast, I say. Yes, sire, I have copies of the Casa AI programming readily available and thought to immediately use one so that there would be time to get accustomed to it while I was still here. I will disperse others after I have talked to the first and see if they want an AI to take over for them. I will tell them to watch over them until further notice, though. Okay, thank you, chef. Well, Mr. New AI, we can't call you chef, but how about Cookie? Cookie, a nickname for one who cooks. That would be me. Thank you for naming me, sire. Cookie responds in a happy-sounding voice. You are welcome, Cookie. Hi, Cookie, I'm Delilah. Can I get one of those super omelets that Dee has? I need food, and I'll have an extra-large V8 juice, please. Good morning, Delilah. Would you like the juice now or with your meal? I'll have the juice now. Please. Your juice is available at the dispenser, and your meal will be ready in 4 minutes, 15 seconds. I'm just half finished mine when we hear the ding indicating Delilah's meal is ready. She almost stabs me with her fork when I playfully stick mine near her food as if I was going to take some, causing Sam to break up in laughter. I finish my breakfast and Riker contacts me to let me know my boat has been completed and will be put in the marina. He also lets me know there have been no problems reported by the first keeping tabs on Queen Bee and her ship. He has started another harvest, and it should be completed in another 4 weeks. The marine biologists report that 96.5% of all the marine life we brought to Arcadia is thriving. They are amazed at the high percentage that has survived the transfer from Earth. Damn, I had forgotten all about the marine life we took. I asked if that included all the sperm and eggs, and Riker said that it did. I asked what he thought about having some mirror check over our water bodies, and marine life and give us some recommendations. I thought that they would be the subject matter experts after tasting a little bit of their seafood and listening to what Dalila has said about them. Riker said that the mayor were definitely the subject matter experts, and it would be a great thing if I was able to get some to visit Arcadia and check our waters and marine life. I told him it was a definite possibility after our trip to Elven, as I learned my properties on Elven included mer slaves, and that I would be setting them free as soon as I was able to, as there was no way I was keeping slaves. I'd offer to pay them to stay and work on Elven for me, or take them to their homeworld if that was what they wanted. Riker said he was glad to hear that I didn't want to keep the slaves, though. It may be hard to let them stay on Elven. And the first knew about the Mare homeworld was that it had been contaminated and was unlivable. It was a mostly water world, having only 3% landmass and no one had ever lived on it. I told Riker I'd find them a new world, or let them live on Arcadia if I had to, and Queen Bee is well aware of my feelings about slavery, and that I would not be part of an agreement with races that had slaves. But enough about that. I can't do anything about it for the time being. I would like to talk to you about the time and location for our wedding in Guardian City. I'd like to get married at sunrise in the small park on the point where the beaches of Arcadia Bay and Guardian Bay meet. You probably know which one I'm talking about. It's right in front of Guardian Hall and the Hall of Justice. I know the park has a fantastic view, but does it have a beautiful view of the sunrise? Yes, I do know the park, sire, and yes, it does have a beautiful view of the sunrise. It will be a fantastic spot for your wedding, and I will make sure it is in pristine condition, sire. Thank you, Riker. I feel it is going to happen soon. Everything here is running smoothly, though very quickly as we are coming to the time when we move everyone to Arcadia. Another thing I am thinking of is live streaming the wedding back to our Arcadia website on Earth. How much of a delay would there be if we did that? Or would it be better to video the wedding than upload it to the website? Sire, communications through our CSSs are instantaneous no matter the distance. If you live stream the wedding back to Earth through the comms of one of the BCs that is in Earth's system, the people on Earth would see it in real time. Holy crap! I guess I know now how we communicated without any delay during our encounter with the Elven. That is so awesome. Yes, that is why, sire. Okay, let's do that. Now I am ready and have chosen the new Guardian formal attire uniform to be my wedding outfit, and I know the girls were looking at wedding dresses last night. As soon as I know they have them, it will be just a matter of when we have the time, and we'll do it even if it's just a quick trip to get married, and then return to Earth to get everyone together for the migration to Arcadia. Yes, sire. I saw the new Guardian formal attire uniform. I thought it looks very nice, and the consensus here is it looks very dashing. We look forward to seeing a new Guardian work uniform and dress uniform as well. Everyone here is excited about your upcoming wedding, as well as the new Arcadians arriving. Now that we know where the wedding will take place, please know we will ensure the park looks beautiful. I know you will, Riker, that all of you will, and I appreciate it very much. I am so looking forward to getting everyone settled and living there. Sam pops in to tell me the Sentinels have been completed and placed in the 2 systems next door. Everything is tranquil in regards to our projects, in that she was now going back to finish looking at dresses. You haven't finished yet? I thought you would have that done by now. Please let me know when you have them and anything else you the 4th of may need. Not yet, DD. We are women need more time than you men as we coordinate a complete look while you men can just throw anything together. And yes, we will let you know when we have everything. We too want to marry as soon as we can. Sam leaves and I decide to take a look at the items they put on the website for people to purchase. There are quite a few things that many have bought, but many more items that few have bought. And I am happy to see many saying they would be likely to purchase bigger ticket items using the Earth money they exchange to Arcadian credits, $AC, if the prices on Arcadia allowed them to do so without straining their finances. Well, it seems I am at loose ends with nothing really needing attention. Shit, it would have been a good time to go get married. Too bad we aren't ready, but hey, it will happen. I see it as just afternoon and some lunch sounds good about now, so I head to our suite. The girls hear me arrive and scream from the bedroom, "Don't come in here." "We're almost done," to which I reply, "Not going to. I'm here for a little lunch, then off to wander around." I decide on a chicken Caesar salad for lunch and quickly devour it while thinking about what to do next. I decided there really isn't much to do, so I head to the observation lounge. Earth really is a beautiful sight from way up here. From there, I head back to the suite, and it suddenly pops into my head that I still haven't put my apartment up for sale. Well, shit, L and L are still living there, so maybe they would like to buy it. I give them a call saying, sorry for calling on a Sunday, but I was wondering if they'd be interested in buying my apartment. They said they were definitely interested if the price was right. So I told them to get 3 appraisals done, and we go with the average of the 3, minus 20%. They say they will call first thing Monday to get the appraisals done and let me know. I thank them for their time and end the call. Sam and the girls finally come out of the bedroom in time for dinner, saying they have everything now and are as ready as they can be. I told them that I was too, and all we needed was another day, like today. The girls are feeling frisky first thing this morning. They each take turns abusing me until I come in too. Then they swat me on the ass and tell me it's time to get up and get at 'em. I take my shower, then get my coffee before heading for training. Afterwards, one tells me we'll change our training schedule to every second day from now on, but she still wants me to practice the situational awareness part of the training as often as possible until it becomes second nature. I tell her I certainly will. Delilah is at the breakfast table this morning, so she gets a kiss after I get another coffee and let Cookie know what I want for breakfast. By the look on her face, it looks like Delilah is doing some thinking, but it must be good thinking as she has a big smile. Her smile gets a little bigger when she looks at me when I ask her what she's thinking about. I am thinking I am so happy being here with you, Sam. 2, 3, and that sometime soon I really will be Delilah Sanderson, not just having that as my name. I will be one of your wives. Delilah and I both jump a little when we hear, we all will be each other's wives and Didius will be our husband, as Sam, 2, 3, appear beside us at the table. Sam lets me know that no one has anything to report this morning and that she will be talking to Marcia in a couple hours to see if there was any news about the 2 state governors that were stalling. I told them that I had called L and L yesterday and offered to sell them my apartment, so I expected to hear something from them in the next day or 3. Sam said she was going to get enough first together and go over the process we had come up with for transporting people up to the Star Cruiser and then down to their home in Guardian City. Then once we had a better idea of the day we would leave, the first would contact the people they were assigned to and explain the process to them, and for them to take care of anything that needed taking care of, and to be ready to go on short notice. Sam then talked with Marcia and was told that the 2 governors were being investigated and that she was told to grab what she needed so they could finalize the trade agreement. Marcia thought it would be done no later than Wednesday. Hot damn, we could be gone by the weekend, and we could go get married on Arcadia this evening or tomorrow evening. I brought this up to the girls and they immediately freaked and started going on that there wasn't enough time until I asked them if they needed anything else to get married. They said they didn't, but would it be enough notice for those going with us? I told them to call and find out. Tell them we are leaving Tuesday afternoon and returning either late Tuesday evening or early Wednesday morning. The wedding won't go on for hours. We have the ceremony, everyone has some food and a few drinks, and we jump back on the J&J and return here. At most, people would be gone overnight. Calls were made, and though it was very short notice, everyone said they would be going. We told them they would be transported up to the J&J as soon as they were available on Tuesday so they wouldn't feel too rushed beforehand. I contacted Riker and let him know when we would be coming so he would have everything ready on his end. I told him that the 5th PG would be returning to Earth with us, so to make sure they were ready to go. I let Chef and Cookie know and asked if they would prepare a variety of finger foods and non-alcoholic drinks for, say, 20 people. I know there weren't going to be 20 people there that needed to eat, but I hoped with that amount of food we wouldn't run out if some of us were hungry. I also let my PG commander know when we'd be going and that BCs 3 and 4 could go to minimum manning while we were gone, and whoever wanted to go to Arcadia for the wedding could. I let the Web First know about the wedding day, and they put an announcement on the website to tune in Tuesday for a special live stream. Sam did get the first together, and after explaining the process, she told them to contact their assigned people ASAP and let them know they'd be leaving soon. Well, everyone was super busy, and that did make Monday pass by rather quickly. Tuesday morning, and all is still good in our little corner of the world. It looks like we managed to get things together so we could leave this afternoon for Arcadia. Dean, Marcia, and Karen called and came up just after 9 a.m. with Mark and everyone else coming up at various times between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Wow, we were ready to go, and it was just nearing 4. I had Sam contact Trank, the lunar base AI, for me, and I let him know we were leaving for a bit but would be back no later than Wednesday morning, and that the 5th PG would be returning with us. He thanked me for letting him know about the 5th PG coming and that he would let the military know. He said he was intrigued to see what the 5th PG was and that it would be very interesting to see the military's faces when it arrived. Everyone was relaxing in the observation lounge when I stood and asked for their attention for a moment. I apologized for the extremely short notice for our wedding day, but we wanted to be wed as soon as was possible. I also apologized that we would be arriving very early in the morning, Arcadia time, and they wouldn't see the awesome view. This time, I did manage to get Sarah off to the side for a minute and quickly slipped her the box with my wedding band in it, telling her what it was and for her to give it to the girls so they could give it to me during the ceremony. She asked and I admitted I had wedding bands for each of them too. She smiled and told me she would make sure they got the wedding band. I contacted Riker, letting him know we would be leaving momentarily, and then asked if everyone was ready to go. They were, so I got us on our way saying, "Commander, this is Guardian Prime. Are we ready to go to Arcadia?" "Yes, sire. All ships report they are ready for departure." "Well then, Commander, take us to Arcadia, best possible speed." "Yes, sire. All ships depart now for Arcadia, best possible speed." And we